What's up, guys? Matt here with a review for A Wrinkle in Time. Based on the book of the same name, which I'll go ahead and say right now I have not read. The film is directed by Ava DuVernay and stars Storm Reid, Oprah Winfrey, Reese Witherspoon, Mandy Kaling, Chris Pine, Zach Galifianakis, and Levi Miller. Storm Reid plays Meg, a young girl whose father, played by Chris Pine, disappeared 4 years ago, and now she lives depressed and socially awkward. And then one day she's visited by three creatures known as the Misses, who inform her that her father made contact with the universe and discovered a way to travel from one point to another using a method known as tessering. With the help of the Misses, her adopted brother, and a friend from school are transported across the universe in search of her father and must defend against the darkness known simply as the It. When I saw the first trailer for this movie, I wasn't really that interested. It wasn't until I saw the second trailer that I became interested, that I really wanted to see the movie. Yeah, the trailer cannot accurately depict what is really wrong with this film. And this film does have a lot of problems with it. And I'll get to those later. Right now, let me first talk about what I actually really liked about the movie. First of all, the visuals. They did some on-site filming for this movie, and with some really beautiful vistas. Some of the set designs were really well done, and the visuals, I mean, some of the visuals you could tell they were fake, but it wasn't, it didn't break the experience for me. And for the most part, I thought the visuals were really well done, that it was good enough, or it was worth a view in of itself because of that. Most of the performances by the adults, at least the main stars, were really good. Reese Witherspoon did fine, Mandy Kaling, Chris Pine, his wife, played by Gugu Mbatha-Raw, I think I said that right, Zach Galifianakis, Michael Pena's in it. It was a pleasant surprise. I love Michael Pena. Oprah Winfrey, she did fine. But I felt for the kind of character they were going with her, kind of this, the leader of this group of entities, of basically of light, is kind of how they put it. I was expecting a bit more of a dominant force, or a dominant presence, I should say, that I really didn't get from her. It was more subdued, and I think that harkens back to another problem that I have with the film. But again, for the most part, she was fine. A lot of the side characters, the adult side characters, not so much. Not too great. Yeah, but like I said, this film has a lot of problems with it. I like to say that there is a distinctive difference between a kids movie and a family movie. A family movie has aspects for both kids and adults to enjoy, whereas a kids movie is directed almost entirely at kids, at children. That's what this movie is. This is a kids' movie. There is very little that will appeal to adults in this film. The plot and story structure are a complete mess. Now, I'd heard that going into this film. And yeah, a lot of scenes in this film, especially early on, they're rushed and they're just jumping from one scene to the next without properly fleshing out the characters or giving a really decent explanation as to what's going on. In the book, they probably explained it a little better, but as a casual moviegoer, just watching the movie on its own, half the time I had no idea what was going on. It didn't really make a whole lot of sense. One of the weakest aspects for this movie, at least for me, was the writing. Parts of the writing in this film were outright laughable. Some of the situations the characters found them in were written so simplistically that it seemed like they were almost pandering to young minds. So much of this movie seemed so safe. With a few exceptions, it just seemed like they weren't taking any risks, or really trying that much that was new. I've heard some people, say that they were, that they actually saw in this movie that DuVernay was really trying something new with this film. With visuals and with designs, sure, but as far as storytelling, no, I didn't see that. To me, it just seemed like the same thing I've seen before in other movies. And then there are the three kids. And I'm not going to sit here and insult child actors, they're young. They shouldn't be held up to the same standard. The problem is, these are really big parts that are highly influential to the story, to the rest of the movie. So they really do need, or they really should be up to the task of filling these roles out and doing a good job. Storm Reid, good to her for trying, and there are parts where she actually can do a good job. Like when she's trying to show emotion, she can really show it. But a lot of it almost seemed like she didn't have really good direction as to what she was doing. And part of the time, it seemed like she was almost on autopilot. Like, at times when she was supposed to be looking depressed, she actually looked distant. And times when she was supposed to be expressive and emoting, she almost seemed kind of blasé. So, I mean, here's hoping she, I see her, hopefully she'll do some, future stuff and she'll get better. A lot of child actors, they start out, their early work, it's not so good, and then they get better. And then her adopted brother, Charles Wallace, who, God, could they not just say Charles? He's played by a young actor named Derek McCabe, and, he's a cute kid, but again, young, inexperienced. Hopefully he'll get better. Meg's friend from high school, Calvin, is played by Levi Miller, and I actually liked him. I thought he did a good job. My problem with him was going back to the writing. Meg and Charles, they're supposed to be, like these gifted, smart kids, which, I'm sorry, I didn't get that from the movie. I feel like they glossed over that part. But Calvin, he is written in such a way that he doesn't really have much purpose for being there. All he really does is ogle over and admire Meg. He's basically written to be the dumb one. And, it's... The reason I like him is because he played his part like he's supposed to be. He is a kid, That's the way he plays the character, and that's the way he should play the character. But with Meg and Charles, no, the characters are written so that they're basically playing adults in kids' bodies. I'll give Storm Reid a little bit more credit because at certain points she does know how to play just a kid. She's just a young girl who misses her dad. However, I do have to say that this is part of the reason I can't be too critical of this film. Like I said, it's directed at kids, and you have this premise where the kids, in of themselves, they're the heroes. They're the ones who have to brave the darkness. They're the ones who have to save the day. They have to save the adult. And, it gives children, a chance to see themselves as the hero. It gives characters that they can relate to where they can say they're the heroes and that, they can cheer for that and they can aspire to be that. And, that's fine. That's good. It's just, again, going back to it, as an adult watching this, it's kind of hard to take seriously. So you just have to, as an adult, just kind of put yourself in a kid's shoes and say that's how they would see it. And the film's not, like I said, it's not like it's all bad. There are parts of it that I did like. The scene they show in the trailer where they go in the neighborhood and they see all the kids bouncing that ball just up and down in sync, and then all the mothers come out at the same time, saying it's time for dinner. Yeah, that actually was kind of creepy. That was played off very well. But the problems with this film are hard to ignore. The main antagonist of the film, the It, as it's known, it's instrumental to the last half of the film, but in the first half, they really do not touch on it much. They introduce it, they kind of explain what it does, but it really doesn't have much of a presence until the second half. It almost seems like the first half of the film is set up for the second half, which in of itself is a problem because the movie's only an hour and 50 minutes long. It has great visuals and some pretty good acting, but I cannot ignore the issues with the plot or the writing. So overall, I'm going to give the film a 4.5 out of 10. Again, so much of the plot just seemed rushed or glossed over, or just outright didn't make a whole lot of sense. And I think part of that just had to do from the fact that they were adapting this from a book, and they just didn't know what to leave out, what to leave in, or how to translate it from a book into a movie. So that's what I got. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Hello! So I was editing the video, and I started to think about it a bit more, and I think I'm going to be a little nicer to this this movie. Instead of 4.5 out of 10, I think I'm going to go 5.5 out of 10. I still stand by my criticisms towards the plot, but even though it was messy, the story was fairly straightforward. There wasn't anything that really diverted from the main plot line, and I think that was it. That's enough for me to say that, it's almost passable. Not really good, but it's not really bad either. And there are other aspects of the film that I didn't really go into, like the relationship between Chris Pine and his wife. I actually really liked that, and I would have liked to see more of that. I think my main problem with the plot is I think they could have done more to explain everything. And also, there's something that about Charles Wallace being adopted and the it using that against Meg that just kind of came out of nowhere. But other than that, yeah, that's all I really wanted to say. So thank you and bye.